there's a bit of a problem with this tier list. Why is everything so bad? Howdy Gamers. Recently, Solo, who makes super goated YouTube content, go check him out, asked me what I thought were some of the best guns outside of the obvious top tier. It got me thinking about all the options that were in the game and how many cool toys we have to play with, but it also gave me the thought, why are so many guns useless? Before we jump into the tier list, keep in mind I will be rating guns on their efficacy, like how good the gun is to use in general, as well as its usefulness compared to other guns in the same caliber and the same job, like, comparing an S12K to a USAS or an MDR to an M4. As such, some guns might be lower on the tier list, but be better in some circumstances than guns in a higher tier simply because they, cost too much or they're worse compared to similar options. Because of that, expect to see some guns that are a little bit lower than you may expect. Anyway, don't take it personally if you don't agree with everything. Keep it respectful, or don't. I'm not your freaking dad. But regardless, let me know what you all think of the list. I'm going to put on some music. Now's the time to do it. So, starting from the bottom here, we have the SIG. And this is D tier, easily. This is just the worst 5.56 gun in the game, bar mostly none. There's no reason to run it, especially compared to, like, the SCAR, which is just better than the SIG in every conceivable way, which is not a sentence I thought I was going to say. And the SCAR is not exactly a fucking good metric either. But low rate of fire, bad range, and it's cheap, but the ammo isn't. So if you have a gun that's this bad, and the ammo's not even that inexpensive, like, what's the point, right? Next to the PCC9, another D-tier gun. It's really as simple as, why the fuck do we have a single-shot SMG? It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything, right? Like, even, like, automatic SMGs don't do anything, right? Like, they just don't have a good enough place, at the very least in, like, the high end of the meta. And if you just make one single shot, it doesn't do anything. G3. I think this is another D-tier gun. It's as a low rate of fire. It's easier to use than other, like, rifles and ARs in the category. What I will say is that this thing is surprisingly easy to shoot. So maybe, like, considering, like, how cheap it is and how easy it is to use, maybe we push up to C tier as, like, a newbie's first AR, like a normals gun for people. Like, don't put many attachments on it, put some M80s in it, and then just try to get some kills. But the gun has the same problem that the FAL does, where it just doesn't deal much damage per shot despite firing 7.6251. And the upside is, like, relatively light recoil. So it's, easier to use than a FAL, but lower damage than a FAL. And the FAL's problem is already its damage. So, low C tier for the G3, definitely. AUG. This is a really interesting gun. I was really, really negative on the AUG for a long time, and if I hadn't done some testing with this gun recently, I probably would have placed the gun even lower than where I am right now. But the AUG does deal 1 more damage per shot than the M4. But the problem with the AUG, in my eyes, is it's not as good at scope spraying as other rifles. Its recoil, especially its horizontal recoil, is a little bit too significant, which makes scope spraying kind of bad, which means that you can only really put a red dot on it and be comfortably shooting with it. So that makes its versatility score go down in my eyes, which is like something that a lot of 5.56 guns have. And the really funny thing is that, if we're comparing it to other guns, it's, well, less stable than an M4, although not hard to control. But it's less versatile than an M4, and it does less damage per shot and lower rate of fire than the H4. So, if you combine those things on top of a higher price tag than basically any M4 build, this thing's 300k if you're adjusting the scope on it, and only having access to 30-round mags, there's just too many downsides to put it above B tier. What I will say, though, is that this gun is full of fucking culture. I think it's a cool gun. I think it's a fun gun. I just don't think it's a very good gun. M1911. So we're going to be comparing a lot of pistols to each other. I think the M1911 compared to other pistols, I think it's like low B, high C tier. It's the cheapest suppressed pistol. You can run the thing with a suppressor and a red dot and run like really cheap tier 3 ammo and have like a reasonable scav killer. I don't know. I think it's a B tier pistol. I think it's like the midpoint for pistols. It doesn't reliably one shot to the head, but it's comfortable enough to use. It's incredibly cheap. I don't know if I would spend the money on it, but if you do decide to spend the money on it, you're not going to be like wasting that much at least. So there's that, and it'll at least pop helmets for you. M96, maybe the worst gun in the game. Maybe like legitimately, actually the worst gun in the game. Very, very awful recoil, low rate of fire, 3-round burst, locked 5.56 gun that is not customizable. Like, there's no reason to run it at all. Nothing more to say. Another D tier SMG, 7.62 by 25 caliber. It definitely needs some love. It's better than the PCC9, because like this caliber is always going to be like a very, very cheap, low caliber gun. This is a gun that is going to be like capable of leg metaing, like every other SMG in this caliber, but it's just not very good. M45, I forgot this thing existed. It's a worse 1911 anyway. The fact that it exists kind of pisses me off, so I'm putting it in the bottom of D tier. It's just dog shit. Another shotgun. This is like all the shotguns that are not the USAS or the Saiga are just kind of bad. So unfortunately, another D tier gun here. There's basically no reason to use this thing. And that's going to be true for all the pump actions and the double barrel. So I'm just going to put them all here while I can, as well as the 7.6225 SMGs. Again, there's no reason to run those. SA58 or SA85. This gun used to actually be C tier, but since the damage nerf, or since the head HP buff, this thing is basically incapable of one-tapping to the head, which was the only thing that it could really do. It used to be like a gun I would bring into normals for like 20k with like the funny little tier 3 pilot helmet, no armor. Bring this in and basically have like a souped up scav run. But that's even worse now because, again, it doesn't reliably one-tap to the head, even if your armor pierces their helmet. So, D tier. Very, very sad. Glock. I think that this is another B tier pistol. It's definitely like not one of the best pistol slots, but it's definitely the best leg meta pistol slot. I know that some people also just load tier 4 of the full of this thing, and just kind of go to town. But the problem with the G18 is that you can't really suppress it, which is one of the main reason that people bring pistols. So the most reliable thing that you'll see happen with this is like not really like a PvE pistol, but to be like a PvP hose that you just kind of spray at point blank range, which is not exactly what you need a pistol for. M9, I think that this is a C tier pistol. It has like similar problems as the M1911, but they're kind of exacerbated. The M9 just doesn't deal like a lot of damage per shot. Again, like the head HP buff really made a lot of pistols even worse than they already were. You can suppress it, but the ammo, the thing that puts this in C tier compared to the M1911 is that the tier 3 and the tier 4 ammo for 9mm is cheaper than the tier 3 ammo for the 1911. So it's just not as good at what it does, and it's more expensive. Uzi. C tier SMG. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's like, it's the second worst 9mm SMG, I think. But if it has like a high enough fire rate that you can run it with like with Dum Dum and still occasionally get kills, but there's also no reason to run it over an MP5 or run this over an MP5, which an MP5 already has its own problems, right? UMP. I think the UMP is D tier, and the reason the UMP is D tier is because the MAC-10 exists. And it just doesn't really do anything. But there's no customization you can do to fix it. The ammo's bad, the rate of fire is bad, the range is bad. There's literally nothing to write home about it. It's okay, like, if I'm running like a scav run or something, I can occasionally get kills with it. Like, it's gonna be better than some things like an MP40 or a pump-action shotgun, but there's zero reason to run it over almost any other gun in the game. AK-74U is another D-tier gun. It's the same problem as the SIG. It's basically like the 5.45 SIG. There's very, very little that this thing does. It has really bad damage per shot. And honestly, for being a gun this tiny, the ergo is really bad. It's actually really annoying how few benefits basically all the D tier guns have. It's like someone just took all of their stats and cranked them to 0. No damage, no range, bad recoil, bad ergo. Like why are the recoil and the ergo bad in this thing? It's a pea shooter. It's so tiny. It shouldn't be as bad as it is in my opinion. But it is, unfortunately. Again, about as good as the SIG, unfortunately. Probably a little worse. Deagle. I think that the Deagle is another B tier pistol. Maybe even A tier. I'm not sure. It's one of the two. The Deagle is a really, really good cost-effective pistol if you don't care about making noise. It's one of the few pistols where if you run it with tier 3 ammo, you can pretty reliably kill scavs. Obviously, scavs that have tier 4 hats will be able to tank your shots. But if you're, for example, if you're like running like a sniper build, SVD, M110, SJ, yada yada yada, and that gun is not suppressed, and you're just generally going into it with the approach of not giving a fuck if you're being loud, it's a pretty good gun to run. Like the gun itself is $4,000. The tier 3 ammo is relatively inexpensive. It's more expensive than it used to be since the ML rifle came out, but it's not as pricey as it could be. So I think it's okay. I think it's definitely mid tier. Golden Deagle, I think it's gonna be a little controversial. C tier, like it's there's no reason to run it. It's better than the normal Deagle in every way. It's also more than 10 times as expensive. So you're not running this because it's good. You're running it for the vibes. There's no reason for your scav killer to be 80k. There's no, like, you get this as a trophy, not to run. It's nice to have, it's kind of cool to have, but it's not good. The stats are actually better, though. It has better recoil, better ergo, and different animations. It's better than the base Deagle in every way. It's just not worth the value for being 10 times as expensive. Maybe even more than 10 times as expensive. Fun stuff, but not good stuff. This is SVT, right? That's an SVT. I think that this gun is still A tier or B tier. I'm not sure which tier this gun goes in. It recently had some pretty big nerfs, I believe, to its ergo, definitely to its muzzle velocity as well. And you don't really want those things on a sniper rifle. This thing has, like, if you put a scope and a suppressor on it, this thing has 12 ergo. But it's still a DMR that shoots a humongous bullet, and the thing's like 80k. It's like it's a pretty good gun to have in your back pocket, even unloaded, and then you load tier 5 or tier 6 ammo as you need it. I think A tier is a pretty decent place to put it, but less so because of like how fucking strong it is, and more so like how strong it is at the price point that it is. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty fucking good. It feels so bad to fire, but again, 80k, big bullet. Mini. I think the Mini is another D tier gun, and this one, like the Mini is like an okay gun to use, but the problem is that there's too many other guns in the caliber at similar like price points that like already do the same thing that make this gun really, really bad. Like the thing that comes to mind for this is the M16. Like the Mini doesn't one shot, it doesn't have any like burst or fallout capabilities. And it doesn't have like a fast enough fire rate to reliably get that follow-up shot. Like there's no real reason to run this thing. And this is going to be the case for a lot of DMRs, where a lot of DMRs are going to be like C tier and D tier, because if you're not like, if you don't have either like a one tap or something to bring the gun up, there's actually no reason to run it. You can get it to 100 vert recoil though, and last time I checked, if you put the Mini up with 100 vert recoil, when you fire the gun and then it resets, it'll actually be below the position from when you originally pulled the trigger. The recoil will make the gun go down, which is funny, but who gives a fuck, right? It's a fun fact, not something that makes the gun good. Mac 10. So I used to actually put the Mac 10 up pretty high, but I think it's a pretty bad C tier gun at this point. Mac 10's a really fun gun. It doesn't have a lot of recoil either, though. Which these things are nice. There's not a huge amount of selling points for it. The big thing, though, that puts it down more than anything else for me is the fact that the Vector exists. Now, the Vector 9 and the Vector 45 are just literally upgraded versions of the Uzi and the Mac 10, and if you want them to be as cheap as the Mac 10 and the Uzi, they can be. BM59 used to be like the old school SVT. It is now really, really bad. Now, I haven't actually checked its damage ranges lately, but the problem with this gun is the fact that there's other guns in the same caliber that exist. Notably the M14 and the M110. Gun has just, worse magazines, worse ergo, and the big problem is range. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if this thing one-shots with, like, tier 5 ammo to tier 5 hat within effective range. I think it does, but I know that for a fact that outside of effective range, it does not. And a lot of DMRs, again, if they don't one-shot, like, reliably, they need to have some significant upsides. The upside of this gun is its cost, but there's already other guns in the same caliber that are cheap and have additional upsides compared to this gun. Small mag, bad range, bad stats, no reason to run it. Next is the I think this is an FN pistol, and I think that the thing is gonna be like either B or A tier. I think I'm comfortable putting it in A tier compared to their pistols. It's pretty unique at what it is. It's the only pistol with tier 5 ammo, and you can suppress it. It can basically do everything that you want it to do, but it is expensive as a bit. Like there are some people who will put more money into their FN pistol than I'll put in my primary, which is insane. It's it's kind of like the H4 of pistols, which is insane to say, but it's definitely like the best pistol, but I don't know if I'd put the money up for it. Pretty fun, pretty cool, but extremely pricey. Saiga. I think compared to shotguns, the Saiga is going to be a C tier shotgun. I'm still not excited to run it, and it's got some pretty big problems, but it is pretty cheap for what is effectively a leg meta cannon. You can the Saiga actually has a high enough firepower, and not many shotguns do this, by the way. But the Saiga does have a high enough firepower that you can two-shot legs with it. And I don't think that any of these other shotguns that are in the D tier can do that. So higher fire rate, higher firepower, and it's pretty cheap. Leg meta, the problem with like using a shotgun for leg meta though is that SMGs are generally better for leg meta. There's also the USAS, which exists. The USAS is very, very expensive. So I don't really fucking love that. But the Saiga it's gonna be like an okay option on the cheap if you want to leg meta someone with a shotgun. It's okay. It is hardcore okay. SKS. Used to be bad, it is now even worse. I don't know if there's something about this fucking gun. I feel like I literally have input delay when I run the SKS. Regardless of any gun fuel problems, though, the ergo is bad, and it has the same problem that basically every other cheap DMR carbine style gun has since the Headshot HP update, which is if you run tier 4 or tier 5 ammo into this and shoot someone in the head, they are not dying most of the time. It's just bad. You should never use it. M16. Definitely a hard stuck C tier gun. It does have some efficacy. I think it's the best C tier gun on the list here so far. If you run it with M995 and burst fire and actually like put some decent attachments on it, this gun is actually like pretty functionable. Burst fire is surprisingly good and surprisingly accurate since the Season 2 burst fire buff. The problem is that if you're actually deciding to buff the gun and change out the parts are going to be the same things that you're putting on an M4. They're going to cost the same. It's going to be the same kit. So, like, at what point do you just run an M4 instead? The one thing to note that the M16 has over the M4, beyond, like, if you're, like, a burst fire hooligan, is that this gun does have, like, a pretty good effective range. I think it's 79 meters or so with a long barrel or something like that. So this gun actually has like a small niche as being like a pretty like decent mid-range gun that doesn't have damage fall off come into play like as fast as other guns. It's still not as good as other 5.56 options. MPF D tier, worse than the MAC-10 in every way. Glock 17, I think it's basically as good as the M9. I don't know of any particular damage differences between the two. The G17 does feel better to shoot than the M9. But they both have the same damage issues, I believe. Better than the M9, still a C-tier gun. M24. So, I'm actually not sure where the M24 lands. There's definitely a world right now where, like, anything that can run tier 6 ammo and actually like reliably one-shot is not actually that bad. I'm not I think the M24 goes in B tier because it's really, really cheap. I can currently actually get like a scoped M24 into my hands for 70k. And if I put red ammo into that, then I can, within 120 meters, one-shot a guy who's wearing a tier 6 hat if I put M61 in. That's pretty good. The M24 also has high ergo, and it doesn't really need much help beyond that. And if I want to drop it, you can run a scope rail on it that is a 1x1, so it'll turn your 1x2 alpha or 1x2 1x4 scope into a 1x1 on the rail, and then you can put it away. So there's a lot of things that goes well for the M24. The problem with the M24 is that if you're outside of effective range, you never ever one tap ever, period. So it's great within 120 meters, which, you know, for a bolt action's a little bit scary sometimes. But then after that, you are not one-shotting, period, which is a very, very bad trait for a ranged gun. It's got its upsides, but it's also got its downsides. I think it's a pretty reasonable B-tier gun. Vector. I think this is the Vector 45. I think this is the Vector 9. I think the Vector is the best 45 gun in the game, and it's not close. 1100 RPM is fucking insane, and the recent reductions in some of the costs to the Vector make it so that you can run the adapter with the carbine industrial stock for like 40k total, and all of a sudden this thing becomes a fucking laser beam. Which is really, really nice. It makes the gun actually a lot more versatile than it's supposed to be. I also just got a 5 million raid in Forbidden with this thing, so like, I think of a lot of the SMGs, I think this is actually one of the most usable, definitely better than the MP5, maybe even on par with Tier 4 MPX. Less versatile than MPX, but immensely cheaper. This thing is so cheap to run. The tier 3 ammo is 300 per round. The build itself is like 120, 150k, unless you're putting a scope on it like me, like a fucking idiot. Don't do that. This gun has a lot of fucking upsides. On top of being cheap, on top of being like a laser beam, on top of having a really high rate of fire. The problem is that you're shooting 45 ammo. And 45 ammo, like, caps out at, like, 400 meters per second for muzzle velocity, which is really, really, really slow. That's really slow. That's like, if you're shooting someone who's, like, running perpendicular in front of you at, like, 50 meters, you actually have to lead. You actually have to lead them unless they're literally right in front of you. It's crazy. Still, though, fun gun, decent gun, not bad. M14, C tier. Not a lot of reason to run this. The M4, this thing can be like 50k to run, and I think it'll one-shot within its effective range pretty reliably. It's also very cheap for what it is. It's a one-shot gun. It has, like, you know, bigger mags, decent fire rate. So if your shot to the head didn't kill him, maybe it'll give you time for a follow-up shot. It has a high enough fire rate at point-blank range that you can kind of spam it. The problem with this gun is like the M110 has like reasonable recoil. It's the gun I'm kind of comparing this to. But this thing has pretty bad range and the M14 also has pretty bad recoil. So you can spam it, but it's not going to be comfortable to do so. I think this could be like a decent gun for like people who want to run like M80s and Tier 4 in a normals game. I don't think it has much of a place beyond that, especially when you consider how much better than the M110 is for basically just 100k extra. Like, the M110 is one of the best DMRs in the game. The M14 is, like, mid-tier. It's okay, but there's actually no reason to run it for a variety of reasons. AK-74. This might be a surprise, but I think I'm also putting this gun in D tier. So the AK-74, in my eyes, is actually even worse than the SIG. There's no upsides to it. And it also needs help to feel good. Even if you're running good ammo in it, you can be running tier 4 ammo, shooting a tier 3 helmet, and you will not kill the guy. And I know this because it happened to me. I was wearing a shitty, like, 8 HP F70 hat. There was a guy who hit me in the head with a BP round out of this gun, and I lived. This thing is dog shit. It has bad recoil, bad rate of fire, most damning of all, bad damage per shot, and it needs a lot of help to actually make the gun better. And the worst thing about it is that the gun will let you do that. You could also put a lot of money into it to improve it, and it's not going to fucking matter. This gun is a trap, and you should never use it. It is very annoying how bad this gun is. I think that the AK-102 is going to be C tier. AK-102 is one of those things where it feels really fun to shoot. It's relatively stable, but it doesn't have much damage per shot, and it doesn't have enough range. I've tried to run this thing quite a bit, and it just needs so much help. Like, and even like a lot of like the small adjustments that you can make to the gun like are really, really expensive. The mag, like the 30 round mags are like 9K for some fucking reason. Like, if you actually want to improve the gun, it just gets expensive so fast. It gets expensive so much quicker than it should. And all of a sudden, you're spending like 150K. Well, why not run an MDR? Why not run an M4? There's so many downsides to this gun. If you're going to run it stock for like 30K. But my honest advice, don't run the gun. Yeah, rate of fire is 600 RPM. It is not good. It's getting hot in here. I'm going to go turn the AC on, take my hoodie off. Be right back. All right, we love a costume change mid-video. Next, AKM. So the AKM is basically a better version of the AK-74. It is really, really bad. And it's bad for the same reasons that the AK-74 are, plus a couple of extra, even if it is a better gun overall. So this gun is, like, a bit of a trap. It'll actually let you put a lot of attachments and a lot of money into it. The ammo is also expensive as hell. And the big problem, though, the really, really big problem that's unique to this gun compared to the AK-74, because they both all have the same problems. The really big problem with the AKM is that the ace exists. And even a naked ace with no attachments on it, like a 90K stock ace, is going to feel better than a 300K AKM. There is nothing you can do to fix this gun, but it will let you. It'll let you try. And trying to fix this gun is, once again, same as the AK-74, a trap. And for that reason, it's sitting flat bottom D tier. The gun pisses me off with how bad it is. There's no redeeming qualities about it. Mosin. So I've been using a lot of Mosin lately. I don't think it's better than SVTU, but it's a 70K single shot gun that'll load good ammo, and I'm pretty sure that it'll actually manage to get you some kills out of effective range as well. Now, I'm pretty sure that the way that it works is like this. The Mosin will one tap with ammo in effective range, right? So tier 5 ammo, tier 5 helmet, you're one-shotting. Tier 6 ammo, tier 6 helmet, you're one-shotting. I also think that if you're shooting someone out of effective range, that as long as you exceed their helmet type, you're also one-shotting. So SNB versus a tier 5 hat out of effective range, I'm pretty sure the Mosin also one-shots. So it's worse to use overall. The ammo is more expensive. The ergo is worse. The effective range is lower, but it cares less about effective range. You are more likely to one-shot with this thing anyway. It is still going to cost 70K. The only downside here being is that, if you're dropping the M24, you can strip the scope off of the M24 and get, like, half of your money back. There's no stripping for the Mosin, though. So I think that, like, overall, it's a little bit worse, but I think that they both basically accomplish the same thing. MP5. This is going to be a little controversial, but the MP5 is only going to be sitting here at high C tier. Now, this is probably one of the most popular leg meta guns in the game, if not the most popular leg meta gun, and I don't think it should be. It sits at 750 RPM, same as the M4, which is exactly mid-tier. It's exactly mid-tier RPM. Now, on top of those things, you do have access to 50 rounders, you do have access to a couple of attachments that you can use to kind of improve it, and if you use these attachments, it's going to be sitting at around 100K. Cool. What else is 100K that runs 9mm, that has a higher fire rate? That'll probably be better at whatever you're trying to do with the SMG at close range. The Vector 9. In my eyes, there's no reason to run the MP5 over a Vector 9 because the MP5 has too low of a fire rate. There's just very, very little that it is going to be even remotely good at. It's going to be okay if you put tier 3 into it normals. It's going to be okay at leg meta if you load it full of dum-dum, but there's going to be better options even if you do have to pay like an extra 50K for it. This gun's just not good enough, even if it still is a decent dum-dum option. USAS. The best shotgun in the game is B tier. It is really, really scary at range. It actually can 3-tap you from surprisingly far with Type 8 buckshot. It is a rat's paradise. If you walk past someone and you don't know they have a USAS, you're probably dead before you can turn around. The problem is that the situations where you can use this gun are really, really low. Like if you're running like leg meta or dum dum with an SMG, you actually have a pretty reasonable chance to kill people, and like even if they know that you're there, like you can shoot them in the arms. If they're not wearing a visor, you can shoot them in the head. But if you're shooting like a USAS against someone who knows that you're there, it can be really, really hard if they're at full HP to get those kills. The most damning thing about this gun, in my eyes, is that the gun is also 200k. And I don't like spending this much on leg meta. I think that leg meta can basically be done with like anything for like 100k max. Spending this much on the gun alone is extremely unappealing in my eyes. That being said, it's still like a decent option, and if you're trying to be a little fucking squeaky rat, you could do worse. You could do worse. Vector 9. I'm not sure where to put the Vector 9. I don't think it's as good as the Vector 45, but the rate of fire is lower, and the ammo's more expensive. So you could, like, arguably run this thing with leg meta, and I think that's a really, really good option. You could build a gun for like 100k, run it with leg meta, so with like dum-dum ammo, and I think that's going to be okay. But if you're running it without leg meta, with like tier 3, tier 4 ammo, it is going to be considerably more expensive than a Vector 45. We're talking about like more than 2 times as much for tier 3. I think it's like 300 per shot for the Vector 45, 600 per shot for the Vector 9. And if you're running tier 4 in a Vector 9, we're looking at 2,000 per shot, which is insane. But I think it's better than a lot of 9mm options. Low B? Yeah, I'm thinking low B too. MPX, I was dreading this. Okay. MPX is pretty rough. It's obviously the most versatile SMG. It's an SMG that wants to be an AR. It's a bit expensive for what it is, and if you're running this, you're probably running with tier 4 ammo. And if you're running with tier 4 ammo, you're going to be spending a fuckload of money on it. And if you're spending a fuckload of money on this, why are you buying this, right? Like, this gun is going to cost about as much as an M4 or an MDR or, God, even like an AK-12 sometimes if you spend enough money on the build. And it's definitely worse than those guns. I would personally run a Vector 9 before I ran an MPX, but I know that's not a very popular opinion. I think there's a lot of like downsides to this gun that basically boil down to, for the cost of the gun, you should just run something else. I think it's basically what it boils down to. Next, MP9. This thing used to be really good, but some damage nerfs and how expensive it is to run definitely made it a little bit worse. I don't think it has like a real good niche in the game either. Like you can put a red dot on it, you can put a stock on it and suppress it, run like 100k MP9, and for fucking why, you know? Like a lot of people will like run this with their bolt action gun as like a sidearm that can maybe do some close range PvP. But here's a thought: if you're gonna spend 100k plus like good tier 4 ammo on a reasonable second gun that can pair with a long range gun, why not just bring a second primary for 100k? You know, like even if something a little bit cheaper, like a dum dum vector, or I don't know, like a cheap MP5, or even like even like an M4. Make your long range gun your secondary. Run an actual good primary. I think that the MP9 used to be really popular, but I think that what people are doing nowadays, especially because of how strong like tier 5 and tier 6 rifle like DMRs can be, I think that people are just bring that DMR, and if they want to do more, they just bring a second primary. And honestly, why wouldn't you? MDR. This gun pisses me off quite a bit. It's going in high C tier. It is okay. The really big thing that pisses me off about the MDR is that there's no reason to run it. It's better than the M16. It's better than the AK-102. It's better than basically every gun in the list below it. It's even better in some situations than some of the guns that are above it. The problem is that this gun is at least 150k. And any 150k MDR is going to be worse than 150k M4. If you put the long barrel on this thing's going to be 200k. Any 200k M4 is going to be leagues worse than a 200k M4. This gun has no upsides. It has worse recoil in the M4. It has worse range in the M4. It just doesn't. It's not as versatile as the M4. And again, like if we have a gun that does not have good DPS, which the MDR doesn't. The MDR has 700 RPM. If it doesn't have good DPS, it needs to have something. And the MDR doesn't have like basically anything. SVD, I think it's going to be an A tier gun overall. It's a bit expensive, considering that the SVTU exists. Running an SVD definitely an SVTU can be like a sidearm, bring it for 80k, keep it unloaded, don't use it, whatever. But if you're bringing an SVD, like this is gonna be your primary. You're spending at least 200k on the gun, usually more, and that's before ammo. And everybody knows how expensive 7BT1, SNB, 7N37, the tier 5, 6, and 7 rounds are for this thing. It's a lot of money. That being said, it's the best 7.62 by 54 rifle in the game, bar none. It's the best gun. It's the best semi-auto gun with one of the best bullets in the game. So there's just gonna be a lot of situations where you're gonna be able to one-tap, two-tap people with this thing because you have it, and it's the best gun at doing that in this caliber. For that alone, this gun is really, 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 really strong. There's almost no downsides outside of its awkward rate of fire, which again is faster than anything else in its caliber, but maybe a little bit awkward compared to M110. And the price per bullet. This gun fucks. Maybe the best DMR in the game. SJ. I think I'm comfortable putting the SJ in A tier, but it's definitely not as good as it used to be. One of the really, really nice things with the SJ is that you can one tap to the body. Unless if you're running tier 6 ammo and they're running tier 5 armor or below, you can one shot them to the body and they will go down. The problem now is that there's a lot of situations where you're getting knocks on people. You land your body shot 100 meters. Wow, good for you. You're very good at the video game. But they go down and you cannot flush your kill anymore. Maybe they're going down behind chest-high cover. Maybe you're unable to get the follow-up shot. In general, like a lot of bolt actions, like if you are just running the bolt action on its own, then it can be really difficult to actually capitalize on the knocks or the damage that you're getting. And what I will say is that an SJ is frankly too heavy and too expensive to like reliably and safely pair with a sidearm, with a second primary rather. So the SJ is definitely more narrow than any other like DMR long range gun in the game, but it has some significant upsides, such as basically always one-shotting to the head and being, I believe, the only one DMR or bolt action gun that is capable of, in many situations, one-shotting and then bring them to a knock in the chest. All right, P90. So I'm just going to remind folks, this tier list was made in Season 2, before Season 3. P90 is going to be A tier. It is the best SMG in the game, and it is not close. It is going to be like 250k to build this thing, and the ammo is insanely expensive. So I don't know if I'd even want to run this in lockdown. This is kind of a gun that you're only going to see a lot in Forbidden. But at 1100 RPM and access to tier 5 ammo, if you're close to this gun, you are mulch. Like, you are going to die. And in Season 3, this gun is going to be getting a buff, where one of these stocks is going to be able to put grips on it, which will basically let you max out your recoil control rather. And even if, like, you're beyond the effective range of this gun, which is quite short, like 30 meters or so, it doesn't matter if there's 1100 RPM hitting you at 50 meters and all the rounds are hitting and none of them are missing. Just the best SMG for the same reason that the H4 is the best AR. You're never going to miss with it due to recoil. But right now, it does have some recoil problems. It definitely has like an old recoil feel to it, where the beginning of your spray jumps, and it's kind of hard to hold that spray properly. So yeah, there are some accuracy problems to the gun at the moment, but it's still incredible at close range, usable at mid-range, and it's going to be getting a buff very, very soon. This is a gun to watch out for. VSS. Gotta go C tier. Gotta go like low mid C tier with this thing. The VSS is a fucking travesty, to be completely honest. It's a marksman style gun, which is not really. It's a marksman classification gun, which is not really true at all. It only has like an effective range of like 25 meters. It is In practice, it is a awkward SMG. However, it is an awkward SMG that has incredibly low bullet velocity with an incredibly high DPS and access to insanely cheap tier 5 ammo, like 3,000 Cohen or less per round, which is, I think, the cheapest in the game by like 1,000 bullets or 2,000 based on like meta bullet options. It's a fun gun to run, and you're occasionally going to see it. I think it's like a reasonable lockdown and maybe even like armory forbidden option. But it's significantly held back by its frankly ludicrously high recoil for what it is. And it's just poor range in general. There is a shit ton holding this gun back, but if you're within effective range and you're running tier 5 ammo, then what's in front of you is going to die. RPK, C tier. This is the 545 MDR, basically, where if you compare it to other guns within the caliber, there is zero reason to run it. Absolutely fucking none. It is a bit expensive for what it is. There are some decent proprietary stocks, like the RPK dedicated stock that'll help the gun a lot for cheap. But compared to what it was in Season 1, this gun is dog shit. The AK-12 is one of the more popular guns in the game, and this gun costs maybe like 50k or so less per build than an AK-12. And it has twice the recoil. Actually, twice the recoil. Almost identical rate of fire, same caliber. There's not a reason to run it. And like the problem is, the really big problem is that like for a lot of guns, and the RPK is included here, is that there's no reason to run it because there's something better, and the thing that is better is at almost the same price point, which is a huge issue with the balance of a lot of guns in this game. F2000. I used to be so high on the F2000. This used to be like my fucking ship. I'd be like, it's so good. Its RPM is good. The 50 rounders are cheap. There's so many things that this gun does that nothing else does at its price point. But this gun has two problems that basically boil down to range. This gun has a low effective range. The gun also has poor enough damage at range where if you are beyond the gun's effective range, even if you're firing, for example, A1s into tier 4 armor, that you have to completely crack, like zero out the tier 4 armor before you can start damaging their chest properly. And that is specifically beyond effective range. If you can get within effective range, you're cooking, you're feeling good. But then we go into the second problem that this gun has, is that kind of like the RPK, this gun has something that is, and kind of similar to the P90 actually, this gun has a significant kick of recoil at the very beginning of the spray. And in ABI, that is awful. And the reason why that is bad is because a lot of times, let's say, for example, you're shooting someone's chest. Okay, cool. The recoil kicks up, starts hitting him in the head. Bad. That's really, really bad. And you only have to black out one. Like, those are two, sometimes even three separate armor pools if they have, armor, helmet, and visor. 3 armor pools, and then 2 HP pools that you are splitting your burst between consistently, even at close range. And that recoil is extremely hard to stop. Like, this gun was my most used gun for a very, 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 very long time. And on paper, it's a competitor for like a high B or even like an A tier gun. It has 850 RPM, it has extremely cheap magazines, and it has decent enough effective range. The only problem, or I guess the primary problem, is that, again, the recoil and the range make it so that even though the gun's rate of fire is higher, using an F2000, like, the beginning part of your spray is not often going to be hitting where the end part of your spray is. Makes quick peeks on this gun bad. That moment makes, like, shooting at a head glitch on someone bad. It just makes the gun so much less versatile than any other 5.56 AR. I love this gun, but the downsides and its lack of versatility just go a little bit too far. M110, A tier DMR. Best 7.62x51 DMR in the game. Pretty good effective range, spammable at close range, and if you're within effective range, then you're gonna one-shot your target. It's pretty fucking good. And with a rate of fire as medium high as it is, and with recoil as low as you know, it's decent or low as it is, it's actually pretty goddamn usable. That close to mid range, like it's pretty good at basically everything. If you are trying to get into this game, then this is honestly one of the guns that I would also point you toward. And unless you're doing some crazy shit to your build, you're not breaking the bank either. This thing is going to be like 200k for a really good build. You can spend more to make it even better, but I don't know. I think this gun really only cares about ergo as a stat. And if we're talking about ergo, this is also a DMR that has like the second highest ergo compared to any other gun in its weapon type. I think it only gets beat out by the M24. Just easily the most versatile DMR in the game, and it still does its fucking job. Very, very good gun. FAL. Okay, the Season 0 insane gun is bad. The FAL will never one-tap headshot, just ever, which is basically why you use this gun in the first place. So following that up with like, okay, so if you need to hit them more than once, what's the recoil like? Bad. The recoil is bad. This gun is hard to use, and there's very, very few selling points on the gun besides cheap tier 4 ammo and cheap builds. So I don't think there's a lot going on with the FAL that really make it stand out. And there's other guns in the caliber that do literally everything better. Next, AR57. I used to be pretty high on the AR57. I probably would have put it in A, but recently it's definitely been in B tier. This gun is definitely worse than a P90. At 850 RPM, it also kind of feels like an F2000. So like, again, like if you're within effective range, this gun kind of fucking rips. It's gonna out DPS a lot of options like AUGs and M4s and AK-12s and RPKs as long as you're within effective range. But the gun has two major drawbacks, and one of them is the same as the F2000, where if you are beyond the gun's effective range, I don't know what the fuck goes on, this thing does not kill people, which is a little bit annoying because the recoil is like stable enough that you can probably reliably land some pretty decent mid-range, long-range sprays. It just isn't gonna fucking kill anything because you're losing so much of your damage. On top of that, like the tier 4 ammo is insanely expensive right now, and the tier 5 ammo is worse than every other tier 5 ammo in the game based on its armor damage and penetration, and hell, even its damage values. So it's better at close to mid-range. Well, you know what other guns exist that are really, really good at that close to mid-range range? P90. It's going to have a lot of downsides, and the gun's going to want you to be closer than you're comfortable with versus a lot of combatants. I'm not huge on this gun nowadays, honestly. All right, H4. I made a category for this gun and this gun alone. This gun sucks. It sucks that it exists. I'm going to call it 500k. That's how much my build costs, and if you run the gun, you're going to have the best gun in the lobby. It doesn't do anything poorly. At long range, it's one of the few guns in the game that can spray with or without a scope with basically no recoil. It has 900 RPM, which is one of, if not the highest AR rate of fire in the game. It runs 5.56 ammo, which recently got buffed with A1s, and 995 has always been good. So your bullet options are also really, really good. And it has insanely high ergo, and on top of all of those things, it has the highest damage per round of any 5.56 gun in the game. So let's actually just really keep track of why this gun is good. So better range, better recoil, better RPM, better damage per shot, and better ergo. So better ADS speed than anything else in the game. This gun doesn't suffer at a single goddamn thing, and that is so annoying. This gun is going to cost about 200k more than basically any other primary that you're going to use. AEK, MK, AUG, M4. It's going to cost about 200k more, right? So it's not cheap. But if you're considering how much 200k is in perspective to the rest of a forbidden kit, it's a drop in the fucking bucket. Tier 6 armor is going to run you between 400 and 600k. Your helmet alone is going to be like 200k as well. Your meds, your stims, your util, that's going to be 200k as well. Like, it's the difference between your kit value being 1 million and 1.2 million. It is a lot. It's a lot for gun, But what you're getting by spending 500k instead of 300k is a gun that is the best at everything. Also has access to 100 round mags. And you could actually run a scope, 100 round mag, and a suppressor, and you can still have better ergo, better ADS speed. All of these things are supposed to hurt your ADS speed, but you'll still have better ADS speed than any other rifle in the game. If you want to win every raid, there is no reason to not run this gun every single time, which is really fucking annoying. So, because what ends up happening is that, you have, I'm not really calling anyone out here, but if you want to win, there's like streamers that run this gun 24/7 every day. And who can blame them? If you're trying to be competitive, if you're trying to win, there's no reason not to. You have like just identical looking tier 6 4-mans that are all running this gun as well. This gun being like this is so bad for the game because an extraction shooter in a game in this genre really, really thrives by having like a vibrant, even like meta or like just a huge variety of options that you can run. But once you get up to the highest, tier of play, I'm not saying that you're only going to see this, but there is nothing else that you should be running. It shouldn't be as good as it is, but it desperately needs a nerf. Anyway, moving on to the next gun. MK. I think that this is an A tier gun or an S tier gun. I think it's S tier for a couple of reasons. This is a gun that it's a fucking cannon. It's a 7.6251 DMR that has access to full auto at 700 RPM. Another really, really nice quirk of the gun is if you're running tier 4 ammo, it is the only auto gun in the game that will one-shot a tier 4 hat. So M80s versus a KSS TAC, M80s versus a F80 helmet, you will one-tap them in the head. With a long barrel? No. With the gun. I run it with a medium barrel, and you will one-tap them in the head. It is insanely good in lockdown for that reason. However, you also have access to tier 5 and 6 ammo. The downsides of this gun are pretty fucking significant, though. It is... The tier 5 and tier 6 ammo is insanely expensive. If you're running tier 5 for an H4 or a P90, you're spending, 5 to 6k per round. If you are running M62 or tier 5 for this gun, you're spending 13k per round on an auto gun. If you are running M61, if you're running tier 6, it's insane that an auto gun has access to tier 6. But if you are spending 30k per round, and you can't even buy as many as you want anymore. That is 30k per round on an automatic gun, which, you could fire a mag of that, and it's just like, well, that's like my life savings down the drain. That's the kids can't go to college anymore because I spent too much on M61. It is actually one of the few guns that is like prohibitively expensive to use and to use consistently. Despite all of that, as long as you top load, with tier 5 or maybe even tier 6, it can be pretty competitive. And at close range sprays, you are still going to fucking melt things. But now we're going to go into some more downsides, is that, its cost is a downside, but its recoil is also a incredibly major downside. Few guns in the game that you don't actually just want to full auto spray all of the time at all ranges. And for most guns at most ranges, you're going to be holding that spray regardless of how far the guy in front of you is. But this is one of the few auto guns in the game that actually wants to be tapped once you're beyond the effective spray range of the thing. It is really, really hard to control. There's a fair amount of wiggle to it, and what that means is after a certain range, it is actually just better to tap it. But if you play a lot of ABI, there's almost no other gun in the game that wants to do that wants to be tapped at like medium to long range. So there's like a lot of things that make this gun maybe harder to use, but I think in the hands of someone who is either like willing to run tier 5 and tier 6 and who is comfortable with the recoil, this gun can compete with like a lot of like the best things in the game. You just never see it because it's too hard and too expensive. M4. I've been using a fuckload of M4. I think this is one of the most cost-effective guns in the game. I really, really enjoy it. That being said, I think it's still B tier, but I think it is basically as good as an AUG. It just does different things than what the AUG wants to do. Now, obviously, one of the biggest factors that make the M4 as appealing as it is its versatility. You can basically kit it up however you want. Short barrel with a compact grip for if you just want to like be swinging things at close range. I always run with a long barrel with a scope, and I love scope spraying with this thing, especially if you stop factoring in scope spraying as much. This gun has a couple of damage problems compared to a lot of other better guns in the game. It does one less damage per shot, it does two less damage per shot compared to the AUG, which means that if you're running M995 and shooting into tier 6 armor, it takes one more shot to kill them, which is not nothing, you know? It also, it only has 750 RPM. This guy has 700 RPM, and it fires a much bigger round. This guy has 1100 RPM. This guy has 900 RPM. Now, if this gun wasn't as good and as strong as it was, the M4 and probably the AUG as well would probably both be shuffling their way into A tier. But if you really just consider how good the H4 is and how the M4 is, for all intents and purposes, worse in every way compared to an H4 with only a 200k price tag difference between the two, it can be kind of hard to justify if you are trying to bring it into every raid and compete against big boys. Like, for example, I don't know if I would ever want to bring an M4 on the TV station Forbidden. If I'm having to consistently compete with H4s and AEKs, this gun's not making the cut. I'm not bringing it in. I need something better at close range. But outdoor maps where versatility is king, now we're talking. That's where the M4 shines, on Farm, on Northridge, on things where there's all different types of fights you're gonna get in. That's where the M4 is really, really, really good. And that's why I like running it, because I like those maps. All right, so Ace. I'm pretty sure the Ace is a C tier gun. I don't really value the Ace super highly. Now, it does have some upsides, right? The Ace is only 100k, and for what it is, it actually hits pretty hard. It actually hits as hard as the SKS, and that's kind of fucking sick. The AEK right now had a bunch of huge price reductions in the parts and the gun itself. You can get a naked stock AEK for 120k, spruced up a little bit for 150, and the Ace is 100k, and even a naked AEK is always gonna be better than an Ace. And it's all right, well, what about the ammo? Well, the ammo for tier 4 is over 2,000 a round. Tier 5 is 7,000 a round. And even for normals, the tier 3 ammo is 6 or 700 per round. There's better versions of cheap tier 3 rifles all over the place, especially in the 5.8 caliber. And for Lockdown and Forbidden, just run the AEK. There's no actual reason to run this gun. Completely and utterly redundant. The AEK. The gun that for a long time was competing with the H4 for one of the best rifles in the game, and after its nerf, it is definitely the second best rifle in the game. It basically does a lot of things what the H4 does, such as being decent at range, incredible at close range, and honestly, a good AEK is going to run you about 300k. A good H4 is going to run you about 500k. Basically, the nerfs of the AEK make it so that this gun is a little bit hard to scope spray with now. The ergo and the horizontal recoil especially make the gun a lot worse at mid-range, especially with a scope. Still, if you put a red on it, it's still, one of the best guns in the game. Probably the second best gun in the game. Could maybe use a nerf, but I'm not sure if it needs more. The H4 is definitely the only gun that we want to fuck with, I think, and then we can just bring everything up from under this to have a better game. T951. I'm actually not sure where we're putting these guys. The T951 is incredibly good for how expensive it and its ammo is. Tier 3 ammo on this thing is 200 per bullet, and tier 4 ammo is 1,000, 1,300 per bullet, and tier 5 ammo is 4,000 per bullet, and all of those are lower than basically any other average. The two things that really hold the T95 back is its general damage and its range. The pros of the gun: cheap ammo and good recoil. It's one of the easiest guns to use in the game. It's one of the cheapest effective ARs, like all-around versatile guns to run in the game. The problem is its damage and its range. It only has like a 45 some odd meter effective range, which is really fucking unfortunate when you keep in mind that it has like almost no recoil. Like you could put a scope on this thing and spray with it pretty fucking reliably. The problem is that even if you're trying to use it at those mid ranges, a lot of those shots are not going to deal much damage. And having a gun that is low damage per shot at 650 RPM is really, really fucking hard to justify. It's basically a gun I would recommend like almost every new player to try and run, and I think it's always going to be like okay if you're looking for like a budget AR to run, but it is also always going to be outclassed by things like the AK-12 and the M4. It is very, very far away from efficacy from those guns, but it's also a lot cheaper than them. So it definitely has like a really, really solid, like healthy place in the game, I would say. Next is the TO3, which I think I'm putting in mid B tier. TO3 is definitely better than the T95. It does have worse recoil. I know fucking Crit hates this thing, for example, because it kind of does like that jump at the beginning of a spray, kind of like the F2000 does, but it is easier to control than an F2000. And the TO3 actually hits hard and fast enough with its ammo that it's one of the few guns that kind of doesn't give a fuck about whether or not you're getting body shots or headshots. Like you can like land a couple of shots at someone's head and they're dying with this thing. Whereas, 5 or 6 or sometimes even 7 rounds of like A1 to a hat from an M4 sometimes isn't killing your target. On top of all of these things, T951 stock 100k, TO3 stock 120k. Cheap gun, cheap ammo. It's like the go-to budget AR, but it also has bad stats and like bad recoil, or like some downsides that like basically no money will fix. All right, Scar, another C tier gun. It's one of those guns where it's basically like a better version of the SIG, and like it does less damage than AK-102, but it probably is better overall because of its like better recoil stats. We're like, yeah, you could load M995 into this thing and kill some people with it. Yeah, the gun's like 30 or 40k, so it's kind of crazy that you can do that. It's bad. Like the rate of fire is bad, and the range is bad. And what we've been seeing a lot, and this is kind of similar to like the other AKs, the Scar is also a trap. There's a lot of expensive attachments that you can put on this thing. I've seen 300 guns or 300k Scars that people are running that like you could easily trounce them with basically any other gun in this list. Like the gun does not get better when you put money into it. But for a cheap 5.56 option, like a quick kit that you load A1 or 995 into, it's not that bad. All right, next, AK-12. AK-12 is almost identical to the M4. It has the same strengths and the same weaknesses. The only difference with the AK-12, it's probably a little bit better overall. The only difference with the AK-12 is that it's harder to fuck up an AK-12. Costs about the same, especially if you do the 100k Joel trade. This gun is actually like really, really cheap, and also a pretty reasonable thing to run if you decide to put it in to a normals lobby, because the tier 3 ammo is insanely cheap compared to like M855. Like I was trying to build a cursed AK-12 for my videos where I took the stock off, I took the tip off, I did nothing to it, and put a scope on it, and it was still like one of the most controllable, easy, and like good scope spraying guns in the game. You cannot break this gun. Very versatile, good at scope spraying, impossible to break. I don't think the burst is actually that strong, right, Tack? It does have a hyper burst, but I don't think it actually makes the gun better, in my opinion. I think it kind of makes it worse. So it's just like basically one of the best scope spray guns in the game. ML rifle is bad. The gun has hella vibes, and the gun can get good ergo, but the ammo caps out at tier 4, which means that you are not going to run this in anything besides normals. If they have tier 5 armor and you are running this gun, the dude that you're shooting at might as well be invincible to you. You are not killing him. It is not going to happen. It is not possible. You're better off leg butting him with a fucking lever gun than trying to pierce through his armor or his helmet. It is not going to happen. It's interesting, but it is unusable in anything and lockdown or above, which is most of the games that you're gonna be playing here. Anyway, I think that is all the guns that we have. I think this is a pretty reasonable and fair tier list. And as you guys have all been saying, there is a bit of a problem. There's a bit of a problem with this tier list. Why is everything so fucking bad? Price determines a lot if a gun is good. I'm not saying that that's a problem, but what I am saying is that the guns that are bad, they need more to make them better. I would also say, before we move on to a broader discussion, is that I think that S tier is fine. I think A tier is fine. I think the H4 desperately and significantly needs a nerf.